Starter decks 9 and 10 for the Digimon TCG are looking to be some of the most competitive products out of the box. But are they for everyone? Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Steven. I'm your True Champion, and y'all know I love starter decks. I am on record for saying on this channel multiple times that they are the best ways for newer players to hit the ground running and start their Digimon TCG journey. They offer a great way to sort of expose a player to the flow of the game while also giving them a good collection of cards to build a competitive deck around. And the new starter decks 9 and 10 for the Digimon TCG recently released here in the US. I was able to get my hands on one of each, so we're going to open them in this video and talk about the cards inside. And always at the end, I'll recommend which one you should pick up and why, or even if these starter decks are actually for you. If y'all are excited for this video and want to see more like it in the future, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell for notifications so you know when my videos go live for you. And if after watching this video you have some lingering questions you want to ask me live and in person, be sure to follow me over on Twitch. Link is down below, as always. But with all that being said, let's crack open these starter decks and see what's inside. Alright, y'all, here we are at the tabletop setup. I have Starter Deck 9, Ultimate Ancient Dragon, and Starter Deck 10, Parallel World Tactician in front of me. And these starter decks are really cool because originally in the Japanese version of this game, they were used as sort of the introduction to the Jogress, or as we call it here in the States, DNA Digivolution mechanic that takes two separate Digimon stacks and merges them into one stronger Digimon. But due to the way that we here in the US release our products, they came out alongside New Awakening, which also has DNA Digivolution support. So while it may not be as special or as interesting to sort of introduce the products, I do think these starter decks are doing some new things that we haven't seen before in how hard they actually support the DNA Digivolution mechanic. And I think all the cards in both decks will very much showcase that. Now, before I get more into the specifics of these starters, again, I'm going to talk about probably all the cards, what they do, the competitive impact of these starters, yada yada. But the ultimate goal is to try to hopefully give y'all the information you need to make smarter decisions when it comes to acquiring your products. Which one of these starter decks is better out of the box? Which one is better to upgrade for greater competitiveness? Which one should you actually pick up first? Or should you pick up either at all? All of these questions and more will hopefully be answered by the end of this video. If y'all get any value out of what I have to say, or you just enjoy the video and want to see more like it in the future, be sure to let me know by smashing that like button, subscribing to the channel, and clicking that bell for notifications so you know when my videos go live for you. And if you have any lingering questions that you want to ask me live and in person, be sure to follow me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrueChampionSteven. Link is down below, as always. With all of that said, let's go ahead and actually crack open these starters, beginning with Starter Deck 9, Ultimate Ancient Dragon. Now, like I said, I'm a huge fan already of these starter decks because they're introducing new mechanics. But that being said, they're actually going back on some things that we've seen in starter decks previous, especially when it comes to, US or English starter decks. Normally, US or English starter decks come with some kind of extra bonus alongside the starter itself. But as you can see, this starter deck just has the 54 main deck complete with eggs and just overall starter deck goodness. There's no booster packs, there's no promo packs, there's no extra SR memory boost cards. Nothing. And you know what? That's okay. I don't think starter decks have to have this extra thing associated with them to be this gotta get product. I just find it interesting that they're using these products, sort of the flagship DNA Digivolution products, as the first time to actually not include anything extra. They're like, DNA Digivolution is strong enough on its own. Why would we bother putting anything else in here? And you know what? I completely agree. Anyways, let's go ahead and actually take a look at this starter deck. Fun fact, these are the first proper dual color starter decks, as there are dual color Digimon in them that you will later see. So this one, the Imperialdramon one, is fittingly green and blue. Starting off, the first card in this deck is, of course, Mastemon, the Egg of Choice. Inheritable your turn while you have a blue Digimon in play. This Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. Not the most generic power game we've ever seen, but for this deck, it works perfect. You get 4 of this bad boy. Moving on to the rookies. I'm actually not sure how many rookies come total in this deck, but I believe they've recently upped the amount of rookies, or at least they've upped them since the original red, blue, and yellow starters. So let's see what we get. First things first, we have the blue Vmon that searches for free type Digimon, which is, I believe, almost every Digimon in this deck. We should have 4 of those. As you can see, he evolves on both blue and green, so he can evolve on top of the Mastemon, even though he himself is just a blue Digimon. And actually, I lied. We only have 2 copies of him. We have 4 copies of the Betamon, which is the vanilla of choice in this deck. So only 2 copies of the main searcher. Actually, interesting to see. First time I think I've ever seen that for a starter deck. Yeah, even in like the green one, we got like 4 copies of the starter deck Tentomon, which could like add cards to your hand. And here we're seeing a jump straight to level 4s. That's because I think the starter deck is organized by color and not by level. So there'll be some green level 3s, which we'll see later. But the first blue level 4, I guess I'll say, is XVmon. Again, we have that dual evolution cost there for blue and green. When you would play this card from your hand, if you have a green Digimon in play, reduce its play cost by 1. So if you have a green Digimon in play, this becomes a 3 cost to hard play, essentially a level 4 that has the play cost of a level 3 that helps facilitate some really powerful Jogress or DNA Digivolution plays. And we got 4 copies of that bad boy. Oh boy, the next card is honestly a really beautiful one. It is the, in my opinion, strongest card in this starter, and in the greater Imperialdramon deck, we have Imperialdramon. This is the first introduction to DNA Digivolution that we're seeing, but the basics. 8000 DP, level 5, 4 evolution cost on blue or green, but ignore that. DNA Digivolution 0 from a blue level 4 and a green level 4. That means in order to summon this bad boy, you can take 2 level 4s, one being blue and one being green, you combine their Digivolution stacks, and then you throw this guy on top for free. DNA Digivolution has all these other associated rulings with it that I recommend you look up in the official Digimon website. I'll leave a link down below so y'all can check it out. There's a lot of crazy things like ignoring summoning sickness, resetting once per turn effects, yada, 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 that are definitely important to note. From there, though, that's not all he does. He has actual effects on top of that. When Digivolving, when DNA Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. So not only are you getting a free reset of your board, potentially an extra attack, you're also tucking one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom when you perform a DNA Digivolution. And on top of that, when attacking, once per turn, unsuspend this Digimon. So not only can you have like 2 rested, let me just grab a level 4 out of here. 2 rested level 4s that you can combine to create this bad boy. You can swing, restand, and then swing again. So that's like 3 attacks potentially from like a series of different bodies. You can see where the hard aggression can come from with such a mechanic like DNA Digivolution. And getting 1 starter deck Ultimate Ancient Dragon will net you 2 copies of Imperialdramon, and like I showed off a little bit, it's got this really nice like secret rare texture associated with it, which is honestly just gorgeous, and it feels really good too. And finally, we're just showing off all the power cards, I guess. We have 2 copies, I believe, of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode, which is the main level 6 of the deck. Again, I think the main like power card is Imperialdra, but once you do everything that Imperialdramon does, being able to slam this on top of it afterwards is really nice. Now, even though this Digimon is not a DNA Digivolution Digimon, it's pretty cool. 12,000 DP, 4 cost to evolve on blue and green. When Digivolving, you may play 1 level 4 or lower blue Digimon card and or 1 level 4 or lower green Digimon card from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying their memory cost. So essentially, you can recur the Digimon that you got rid of to summon your Jogress or your DNA Digivolver, which is just crazy. It's like free advantage for no reason. So that's sort of like the main like combo cards of the deck. Let's see the support cast. Starting off, we have the green rookies of the deck in Kabuterimon. While you have a blue Digimon in play during your opponent's turn, this Digimon gains blocker. So this is the blocker for the deck, and you get 4 copies of him. Up next, we have Wormmon. 3000 DP, evolves on blue and green. This one only evolves on green. Keep note of that in case you want to play blue eggs in this deck. End of your turn, you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play into a Digimon card by paying its DNA Digivolve cost. So the really cool interaction with this is, let's say you have like 2 memory. We'll just put this counter here to say you have 2 memory and you have 1 Digimon in play and you want to DNA Digivolve, but you don't have enough memory to actually hard play and then DNA Digivolve. Well, what you can do is if you have Wormmon underneath XVmon and you play a Stingmon from your hand to pass turn over to your opponent, because your turn is ending, you can now trigger Wormmon and DNA Digivolve into a Imperialdramon from your hand. So basically you can DNA Digivolve without having to have it happen during your main phase. Very interesting card. I wouldn't say it's needed in the Imperial decks because there's a lot of easy ways to gain memory like Hammer Spark and such, so you can naturally extend pretty well. But there's a version of this card, I think, for every single color, and depending on what DNA Digivolve deck you're playing, it can be super useful. Moving on to level 4s, we have, I think, the other best card in this deck in Stingmon. Again, just like XVmon, he's essentially a 3 cost to play champion, but you need to have a blue Digimon in play instead of a green one. And then inheritable when attacking, if you have a blue Digimon in play, draw 1 card. That is not a once per turn effect. So if you restand with your Pyldra after attacking already, you draw, and then you draw again when you attack again. Super solid. 4 copies of this card. If you're playing Imperial at all, it's probably always 4 copies of this card. And then rounding off the level 4s, we have Stingmon, who appears to be a security Digimon, which means if he's checked in security at the end of the battle, you play him without paying his memory cost. On play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Security Digimon might actually be making a comeback in the DNA Digivolve meta because they're a way to get free level 4s that you can then, DNA Digivolve into other Digimon. So just, pay attention to these cards. We have 2 copies of him. Up next, we do have another DNA Digivolve Digimon in this deck in Dinobemon. It's not just the Pyldramon show. Again, just like Pyldra, 8000 DP, 8 play cost, 4 evolution cost, DNA Digivolve cost of 0 for a green and a blue. And then when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, period. When DNA Digivolving, that Digimon does not unsuspend during its owner's next unsuspend phase. And then also we have an inheritable. This Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for each of its colors. Really interesting Digimon, not nearly as aggressive as Pyldramon is, but definitely feeds more towards the control aspect that the blue and green colors seem to have. There are some cards in the New Awakening booster set that support what this Digimon does, and it's pretty cool. It's a nice sort of tech level 5 after you're playing your 4 Pyldra. Jamming in 2 to 3 copies of Dinobemon is a nice way to round off your total ratios. In this deck specifically, we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of Dinobemon. And then I think we're nearing the end of the Digimon lineup. We have Jewelbemon, who is just a 2-cost vanilla at 4 copies. And then we have Grand Kuwagamon, who, when Digivolving, gets plus 4000 DP and just has security attack plus 1, 11,000 DP, 3 evolution cost. This is kind of an homage to, I believe, the original Grand Kuwagamon that had piercing, and I believe during your turn gained 4,000 DP. So big bug, hits hard. 4 copies of him. And that'll round off all of our Digimon in this deck. Up next, we have the option cards of the deck, and we have one of my favorite cards in this deck, specifically in Megadeth. It is a 5-cost dual-color option card. The thing you have to know about these is in order to play them, you must have both colors present on your board at the same time. If you only have one, you can't play the card. You must have both unique colors at the same time. And this card is a doozy of an effect. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. It's effectively a 5-cost Cocytus Breath. They keep making powerful Cocytus Breath cards ever since the original Blue Starter deck, and they just keep making them cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And then, of course, security effect, activate this card's main effect. We have a total of 2 copies of this powerful option card. Up next, we have a card called Hell Masquerade. It's a 1-cost green option card. Main, one of your Digimon gets power plus 2,000 DP for the turn. Then if you have a blue Digimon in play, one of your Digimon gains piercing for the turn. Really interesting, plus 2,000 in piercing, kind of an homage to Lightning Joust that we saw in the Gallantmon deck, but instead of gaining security attack, you're gaining piercing. 4 copies of that card. And then finally, I actually didn't know that cards like this were in these starters, but there are some reprints in here. We have a brand new Flower Cannon, which for any fans of the original set 1 for Digimon will definitely recognize. Super simple card, 2 play cost, green option card, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, but the real value is in the security effect. Security effect, suspend all of your opponent's Digimon without blocker. This was one of those Hail Mary security cards that just saved you every time it showed up. And getting 4 copies of this card in foil is definitely a nice way to end off the total main deck cards. And of course, rounding off the starter deck, we have 2 new memory counters, one of Imperialdramon and one of Dinobemon. They both look kind of sick. Let's see what it looks like when we put them down. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Overall, the main highlights of this deck again are Imperialdramon, Dragon Mode, and Stingmon. These cards are just so crazy strong at supporting the Jogress mechanic and the greater like Dragon Mode deck you can build from new cards from New Awakening / older Imperial support cards. So definitely pick up this starter deck if you want any of these cards. But now that we've talked about, quote-unquote, the boogeyman of the BT8 format, let's talk about the queen of the BT8 format in the Mastemon starter deck. So unlike the Imperialdramon one, I think you're going to see a less like hard focus on supporting specifically Jogress, as I think there's only one DNA Digivolve Digimon in here, and it's Mastemon herself. And the main one from the Imperial one was actually an ultimate in Imperialdra and Dinobemon, not even a mega, which Mastemon is. So this one might actually be built a little bit differently, and I definitely think it'll have a much different focus. This one was blue and green. This one, the Mastemon one, is going to be purple and yellow focused, a dynamic duo as old as set 2. So let's see how it gets reinvigorated in set 8. Starting off, we have the main egg, which is purple in Nyaromon. When attacking, if you have a yellow Digimon in play, draw 1 card. This is not once per turn, so obviously Jogress would reset it anyway, but if you had a way to restand your purple Digimon, you could draw multiple times, which is pretty funny to think about. Both decks having ways to draw cards that aren't once per turn. 4 copies of that. Starting off, we have the yellow Digimon. I wonder if we're going to get a split of the purple and yellow ones like we did in the green and blue deck. And we have Salamon starting us off. 2000 DP, dual color evolution cost, and just an inheritable that says, end of your turn, you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon into another Digimon in play into a Digimon card from your hand by paying its DNA Digivolve cost. So it's a mirror of the Wormmon from the other starter deck, just for yellow. 4 copies of that. Up next, we have the vanilla of choice in Lopmon. 4 copies, dual color Evo. Enough said. All right, but here we have, in my opinion, one of the clutchest cards, and a lot of text on this card, in Gatomon. 4,000 DP, dual evolution cost, level 4. On play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 yellow Digimon card and 1 purple Digimon card from among them to your hand, place the remaining at the bottom of the deck in any order. Super awesome. Just sort of resource grab, being able to potentially get a +1 off of an effect like this is always cool, i.e. Davis. Your turn, when this Digimon would Digivolve into a card with Archangel or Fallen Angel in its traits, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 2. So you could Digivolve into things like Lady Devamon or even Andromon, or I think even regular Andromon for cheaper, which is super nice. But just like this Salamon, it has the end of your turn. You may DNA Digivolve this Digimon into one of your other in play by paying the DNA Digivolution cost, yada, yada, yada. And the reason why this card is super important, not just in this deck, but in the greater Mastemon strategy, is Mastemon requires 2 level 5s in order to Digivolve for free. And hard playing level 5s is a lot harder to do than hard playing level 4s. And so having a card that can sort of let you blitz into your DNA Digivolution becomes a lot more useful. And that's why we see multiple versions of this effect at different levels in this deck instead of the other one. And Gatomon, being a super clutch card, comes in at 2 copies. If the only reason why you want to get 2 copies of this starter deck is so you can have 4 Gatomon, that is a perfectly good reason to me. She, like Imperialdramon, has a really cool texture on her as well, which looks and feels really nice. Up next, we have the Angelwomon, the first yellow level 5 in the deck, 6,000 DP, 6 play cost, double evolution cost, and the on-play effect, one of your opponent's Digimon gains -2 security attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. So if you want to like hard play this, minus your opponent's security attack, and then DNA Digivolve to end your turn, you could. Nice little combo right there. And then inheritable your turn while you have a purple Digimon in play, this Digimon gains plus security attack. You know, always nice to see some extra aggression in yellow decks because it's one of the only things that yellow is lacking as a color. So this is a much needed inclusion. Definitely can help you sort of pick up tempo once you start getting your Mastemons into play. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of that card, and oh baby, there she is, the queen of this deck and definitely the queen of all of our hearts, Mastemon. Now, onto the wall of text that is Mastemon's ability. When Digivolving, place 1 yellow or purple Digimon card from your trash on top of your security stack face down. When DNA Digivolving, you may search your security stack for 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card and play it without paying its memory cost, and then shuffle your security stack. So basically, you can stack a card on top, look at a card, play it, and then shuffle. I don't think you have to do that second effect. Yeah, so if you just want to like recover 1, you can just recover 1, and that can be useful sometimes in certain matchups. All turns, when you play another Digimon using an effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon whose level is less than or equal to the played Digimon's level. So in like proper constructed play, the main combo is like things like Dead or Alive, things like Onimon's Ward Defeat. So that way when your opponent attacks your security and they allow you to play Digimon during your opponent's turn, you can actually delete something while also gaining something. But obviously there's synergy with Mastemon herself, where when you Digivolve on top of her, you DNA, you play, and then you kill. Super solid. And you know, she's a boss monster, so of course there's just 2 copies of her, but also like Gatomon, she has a super nice textured foiling, which is just gorgeous. So that's it for the yellow and sort of the dual color Digimon. Let's go ahead and move on to the purple Digimon of this deck. Starting off, we have Ghostmon, which, like Kokapiterimon, if you have a yellow Digimon in play, becomes a blocker. Super nice to see, 4 copies of that. And then we have Tsukaimon, who is a purple Digimon, 2000 DP. On play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel in its traits from among them to your hand. So again, it's the Searcher, kind of like Vmon for the Imperial deck, just for Mastemon. Only 2 copies there. Wow, Bandai really is scrimping on those Searchers, I see. It's okay, I get it. On to level 4s, we have Witchmon, who is a level 4 security Digimon that gets played after she's checked in security. With the on-play effect, return 1 purple level 5 or lower card from your trash to your hand. This has extra synergy with Mastemon because you can actually put her into your security from your trash, which is super nice. And when she gets played, you can kill a level 4 or less during your opponent's turn. So there's some really nice synergies here with this card and being able to recur Digimon. So like once you play her, you can automatically grab a level 5 to evolve on top of her. Super nice to see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of this card. Really strong, actually, to see 4 copies of this in the deck. Like that a lot. Up next, we have Wizardmon, who's just a generic dual color, 2 cost to evolve on both colors, 4 copies. And then we have Mastemon, who is sort of like a really interesting Digimon. 7,000 DP, 3 evolve cost. On play, delete one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon. So this is one of those cards that you can call off of Mastemon and get like double the value for. Because when you play this with Mastemon, you can kill level 5, and then you can use her effect to kill level 3. You gained a body and they lost 2 bodies. Really nice synergy there. We got 2 of that. In Constructed, this card is normally Lucemon Chaos Mode, who can kill level 6s or lower. But hey, this is a starter deck. Nice to see some semblance of that kind of synergy. Rounding out the level 5s, we have Lady Devamon, dual evo cost, 6000 DP, 6 play cost. When digivolving, you may trash one card from your hand to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 yellow and 1 purple card with Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel in their traits or among them to your hand, place the remaining at the bottom of your deck in any order, and then inheritable your turn, all your yellow Digimon gain Retaliation. And Retaliation is one of those effects that I'm like, if you just start throwing that effect on cards, they become a lot stronger for no reason, and this card is actually really cool to see. We have 4 copies of her as well. So 4 copies of Angewomon and Lady Devamon, really cool. And then rounding off, we have the level 6 of the deck in Junomon, 11,000 DP, dual evo cost, and then Retaliation. Like I said, when you throw this on a card, it automatically becomes really cool. And then when digivolving, trash the top 3 cards of your deck, and then return 1 Digimon card from your trash to your hand. I love how much search and recursion is in this deck. It really feels like even though you have 2 copies of Mastemon, there's a ton of ways to actually add it to your hand, which is really cool. Imagine having 4 copies, it'd be in your hand every single turn. We got 4 copies of Junomon to round off the total Digimon lineup. Moving on to the option cards, again, we have an absolute star of the show in Chaos Degradation. Unlike Megadeth, this is a hefty 8 play cost, dual color, purple and yellow option, but I promise you the effect is well worth it. Main, place one of your opponent's Digimon face down at the top or bottom of your opponent's security stack. If you do, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. And then security effect, you may place one of your opponent's Digimon face down at the bottom of its owner's security stack. Security effect, not nearly as impressive as the main effect because you're essentially recovering one for your opponent, but you're getting rid of a pesky Digimon. The first effect, though, is actually cracked. It's basically better Wyvern's Breath, but you also get to guarantee that your last card in your opponent's security is a dud and that it doesn't actually kill anything probably, so which means you can like guarantee game technically if that's the only card left in their security. So I really like the utility behind Chaos Degradation. It's one of my favorite removal spells in the game, period. Up next we got Darkness Wave. 1 cost purple option card, trash the top 3 cards of your deck, then if you have a yellow Digimon in play, return 1 yellow or purple Digimon card from your trash to your hand. Security, activate this card's main effect. This might actually see some niche play in like those trash-focused like purple decks like Bielstramon or in the future Beelzemon, which is kind of funny. I don't think they play that many yellow Digimon, but if they did, this should be a nice way to recur those as well. We got 4 copies of that. And again, I did not know that these cards were in these decks, but it's nice to see some pretty cool reprints. Here we have Night Raid, the original Myotismon card from, I believe, Ultimate Power. 2 cost, purple, main, play 1 purple level 3 Digimon card from your trash without paying its memory cost. Any on-play effects do not activate. Security effect, activate this card's main effect. Fun fact, this was in the very first Digimon deck that I built, and it played an Impmon for me as a security effect to win the game on the following turn. So Night Raid and me go way back, and seeing it look this nice means a lot to me. 4 copies of that card to round off the actual deck, and 2 gorgeous memory markers with Lady Devamon and Angewomon, respectively. Now that we've finished the actual product opening, let's talk about the nitty-gritty. Which ones are the best out of the box? Which ones can be upgraded the most? Which ones do I recommend you buy? And how many of each do I recommend you buy? Well, first things first. If you plan on playing Imperial or you're planning on playing Maste, obviously these decks are must-owns, and you probably need 2 of each starter so that way you can round off all of your playsets. Secondly, if you're a newer player and you're looking to sort of hit the ground running and play as competitively as possible, as quickly as possible, a really easy avenue is just picking up 2 copies of Ultimate Ancient Dragon and then buying some cards from BT8 and EX1, and bada bing, bada boom, you have one of the best decks in the game currently. Also, given how just aggressive and consistent the Imperialdramon package is, I'm going to have to give the Imperial deck the more competitive viability out of the box. So that's why I'm recommending that one is the one you pick up first as your first starter deck. But Mastemon is a super solid strategy that I'm sure once it gets figured out and constructed will go on an absolute tear in the Digimon tournaments. So definitely keep an eye out for it and maybe consider it if you like the playstyle. And boom, there you guys go. That wraps up my box opening and sort of review of the newest Digimon TCG starter decks. If y'all enjoyed, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And let me know down below in the comments if you've made it this far in the video, if this video actually helped you make a decision about how to spend your money in the Digimon TCG. All that being said, I've been your true champion, Steven. Please be sure to work hard, rest easy, and live well. And I will see you all next time. Peace.